Hey guys, and welcome back to the ASX Investor channel, and welcome to another ASX CEO interview. Today, we're very excited to be revisiting and unpacking the Novatti story. ASX NOV is a fintech player. We've really been developing out a robust ecosystem and offering with a range of different opportunities that they're really looking to help to facilitate this digital adoption that we're seeing really around the world. They're an exciting fintech, some absolutely phenomenal results in FY21, really building over the past couple of years of outstanding growth. We've got the CEO, Peter Cook, joining us on the channel once again. Welcome back, mate.
Hello, and welcome to viewers. Thank you very much. Novatti is, we've had a strong year, and we've just today, August 31st, released our results. Last year did revenue of $18.4 million, the year before $11.9 million. And I can go through all sorts of, all of that and everything else.
It's a phenomenal set of numbers coming through. Before we unpack and dive into all of that, could we have a bit of a refresher? Who is Novatti and what is that problem that you're trying to solve?
Novatti, code NOV, we've got about 130 staff at the moment, and we're very much involved in payments and I would say a multi-services payments provider and very much in B2B payments. So in terms of our customers, at the moment, we've got about 400 odd business customers, and about half of them are other fintechs and banks and payments companies, and about half are merchants and small to medium, and in fact, some large enterprises. So we are trying to solve various pieces of their payments puzzles, and you could sort of say we're like an underlying infrastructure provider. So we sort of think about being picks and shovels to the mines in our own sort of way. And so what we're really trying to say is we don't really in general deal with the end consumer. We have one small business unit called chinapayments.com, and that does have a lot of consumer customers, which is sort of really the result of a real innovation play, and that particular unit's gone really well. But most of what we do is us providing payment services to other payments companies or end businesses.
And you've really been focusing on developing out that infrastructure across a range of different pillars. Yeah. You've had really success. It's been quite a phenomenal growth rate. I think looking at the numbers, it's plus 45% on the top line over the past 3 years. Did you want to just speak about the growth rates, the numbers, and some of those numbers that you brought to the market today for FY21?
Yeah, so look, actually for the last 4 years, we really have been averaging circa 45 to 50% top line growth. And you know that, so if you go back 4 years ago, we were sort of a $4 to $5 million company. This year, we've just done over $18 million. And, you know, if you say plus or minus, say we do the same sort of growth rate, we're into the mid $20 million of revenue. As you go through those growth phases, then you've got to sort of staff up and get your systems and procedures and technology all to match up. And so that's a lot of the underlying work. In terms of being able to achieve that, you know, increase in staffing, increase in financial licenses, increase in commercial partnerships, and then you start to monetize and bring the customers through. I mean, just for specifically over the last year, we've initiated a partnership with Ripple, who have the cryptocurrency called XRP, and we're part of their global cross-border payments network. Visa, who we'd become an issuer for in the previous financial year. Last year, we got a license for them for New Zealand as well. And then we got actually a regulatory license in New Zealand, and that allowed us to bring on Afterpay as a customer. And we brought on China Union Pay as a partner. We got on our issuing side, we got authorized by Apple Pay and Google Pay and Samsung Pay. So that sort of underlying work on what we call our infrastructure or ecosystem is where a lot of the real day-to-day work and cost is. And then, you know, our sales teams are essentially selling access to that ecosystem, which is the monetization.
Of course, there was a formative capital raise over this past period, $40 million raised, as well as an SPP. Of course, the stake going into Reckon as well. There's a lot of eyes and interest surrounding it. We'd love to just hear your strategic rationale behind the capital raise, as well as Reckon's investment too.
Okay, so let me just talk about sort of two capital raises. So start of last financial year, so in July 2020, we did a $10 million raise, and we said to the market, this raise is about growth. And we've essentially, and at the time, in a balance sheet sense, we were sort of negative a few $100,000, and we ended this financial year at about plus $9 million. At the start of this financial year, we've done a $40 million raise, and essentially very much for the same rationale. Is we're saying to the investment community, trust us, we have a strategy, and right at the moment, the strategy, the output that you should see is increased partnerships, increased licenses, and increased top line growth, and that's what we're trying to achieve. So $10 million July last year, we said for growth, we think we've achieved that with that 50% growth that you've seen. This year, $40 million raise. Now, $22 million of that, as you say, was spent on acquiring a 19.9% stake in Reckon. And then the balance essentially is available to us for growth and M&A, which is what we largely said. And that's exactly how we see the money being used. In terms of taking a stake in Reckon, it was seen as a bit unusual. The reality is that for the payment services we provide, in large part, companies such as Reckon, now Reckon's got 100,000 customers, so their 100,000 customers present an addressable market for some of our payment services. So it behoves us to work with Reckon, create some commercial partnerships with them, hopefully, so that everyone sees the opportunity, and then we can offer payment services to those 100,000 small to medium business customers, and also some of the customers they've got in the accounting and legal firms for other software, for instance, their practice management software. So really, in that case, it's all about us working closely with a company that's got lots of customers, and we now happen to be their largest shareholder as well.
And you touched on it there, but of course, one of the real big benefits for Novatti is the ability to cross-sell with so many different pillars. We'd love to just hear your thoughts on how that's playing out and any trends that you're seeing as well in the market.
So look, so first of all, on trends, the super trend is digital transformation of all sorts of industries, and in particular financial services. And so we're seeing that digital transformation in terms of how players such as banks or financial services companies such as ourselves operate, but it's also how consumers want to operate. So, and COVID has just exacerbated this trend where, what might have been, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, a check, and last year might have been cash. Now we're seeing all those transactions go very quickly cashless. So we've got that mega trend of digitization of financial services. I think for us, we're also seeing that our position is to be a multi-services payment service provider, and again, offering services to other businesses, not so much the consumer. So in payment terms, we do acquiring, we do issuing, we do cross-border payments, we do subscription billing, and of course, we're also applying for the bank license. So the real aim is that if you are another payments company and we're working with you, that we might be able to offer you not just one of our services, but 2 or 3 of them. And we are getting significant cross-selling between the business units at the moment, and it also allows us to bring solutions together that have maybe both issuing and acquiring as an example.
And of course, that final pillar that you just mentioned there as well, that banking license. We know that APRA has now actually issued its first license after the halt during the lockdown. We'd love to hear your thoughts on how things are progressing, and then also that potential end goal if it is finally granted, and what it could mean for the Novatti story.
Yeah, so first of all, obviously, applying for licenses to regulators, we don't control every part of the timing, and all you can do is, supply documents and meet their requirements. The whole COVID thing has really interrupted their flows and capabilities. But so at the moment, we think we're well positioned. We have a business plan that has been well received and supported by the regulatory documentation we've been putting in. In terms of the funding, we have known funding of about, because to fund the regulatory capital and also the working capital for the bank. So hopefully we're in the last few months. I've said in a previous announcement, our aim is to have the license by end of November, but we don't 100% control that. I mean, at the same time, we're also, not for the straight bank license, but we're also applying to Visa and MasterCard for acquiring licenses. We're also applying for a license in Europe called the Money Issuing License, and also a money services business license in Singapore on top of other licenses that we've got. Just back on the bank license. So it's not our aim to compete with the big four banks or anything like that in Australia. We see that it's really about providing a specialist, very digital bank for cross-border sort of services for, migrant services banking, cross-border payments, helping with businesses that might be doing trade payments, those sorts of things. So very much aiming for that client base. And then I think the other thing we've seen is that there is a need for a bank that will be very, future focused in terms of dealing with other financial, payments and financial services companies. And we hope to be a bank that can deal with those sorts of needs as well.
It seems like you're continuing to pull together all of the different building blocks. All these components are coming together. We know that there's a lot of different fintechs out there. When investors are looking at ASX NOV, what is that special sauce that you believe sets it apart?
So there are lots of fintechs, and so there should be, and they're solving lots of problems, whether it be regulatory, insurance, payments, improve sort of information for young people, or buy now, pay later, credit, lending. There's lots of services that can be provided. Some of that market is being taken away from traditional providers. Some is solving new problems. So in our case, secret sauce is licenses plus technology plus commercial partnerships. So, essentially that ecosystem, which you just cannot build in 10 minutes. It's multiple years of building an ecosystem. And that really allows us to provide our services to our business customers. And then I think as an investor, hopefully, investors will look at us and say, here is a company that, notwithstanding the sector they're in, is very focused on growing revenues and market share, and then will over time bring that to a profitable bottom line as well. But right now, last financial year, this financial year is really about continuing that growth of revenues and market share.
It was really a phenomenal past financial year as investors, potentially those longer term investors who'd followed the ASX NOV story, or maybe those prospective investors who are now looking at Novatti. Did you have any final reflections you wanted to share with them?
Well, mega trend, digital transformation of financial services. We are a payments company. We see ourselves as a little bit of bricks and shovels to the mines, or to the payments world. And hopefully you'll see that we have a long-term strategy that's based on being sustainable, high growth, quality management team, and a hard to replicate ecosystem based on licenses.
There are the tailwinds of the digital payments megatrend behind you. We'll continue to watch the Novatti story. Thank you so much for joining us as always, Peter.
Thank you very much.